Now, I'm not against the Democratic Party and their work to improve quality of life for people, but we have to be real. We have to look at the data. We have to look at the law. We have to look at what's actually happening on the ground and then rule it by what it actually is. Again, the truth will set you free. So Mr. Zeldin got into a discussion with a member of Congress. And he was telling her that the law does not allow him to do what she's saying. And then she says, "You're a climate denier." He says, it's not even, it's a non-starter. It doesn't exist here. In fact, they'd probably be better off trying to get the National Weather Service to enforce weather law, I guess. If it's in there, you'd have to look in there. But the reality is this. I'm going to start with some basic facts. All of that money spent on unproven theories, unproven, they're hypothesis at best, made the weather worse, made the climate worse. Now, clean air, what they'll do is go, but clean air. Okay, now you're back at clean air. Mr. Zeldin can answer that. And I don't know the exact answer, but I'm sure he has a plan for clean air at whatever standard is regulated. I mean, you just don't get to go into Republican businesses. Again, this isn't political party. It's explaining what you're doing, all of you. And require them to meet some standard that you don't require your Democratic crony, your person of color business, your foreign immigrant business. We know what you're doing, Democrats. The replacement theory is worse than we could have ever imagined. You're putting Republicans out of business. You're putting Republicans out of money, or anybody you say is a Republican. They don't even have to be all. They can be an independent and not a nutso left-wing progressive. And again, there's nothing wrong with the term progressive, but you've coined it as your kind of party within a party. The data says, well, Zeldin told you the law, that he can't do that. He's not allowed to. He's not empowered by law. It's like this. Here, I'll explain the law. So that lady is now running the state police. She's a congresswoman. I won't say her name. I won't even describe her look because you know who it is. Maybe you can look on Fox News, but you find it yourself. I don't want to attack a person, and not really even a party, just the issues. And there's issues in the Republican Party. I speak to them about it all day too, also when it's time to. So she's running the state police, and she says to the state troopers, if somebody's driving an electric vehicle, don't give them a ticket. This is what's really happening in EPA when Biden was running it. If they're driving a gas guzzler, pull them over and harass them all day long. Because we know that vehicle is messing with the weather. Not actually. Because the weather was better when we had the smog. So here's another clean air quandary. The cleaner we make the air, the worse the climate gets. So yeah, you're right, clean air, but you haven't thought through the problem. Nobody wants to breathe dirty air. Nobody wants lung cancer. Nobody wants all that stuff. But don't throw that up as if it's the be-all of what you're saying. The state troopers will tell you, I can't pull a person over because they're in a gas guzzler. I can't not look at somebody that's reckless driving in an electric car and say you're okay because you're in an electric car. That's what you want Zeldin to do. That's what you want EPA to do. So the law and data is actually with Zeldin, not the Congresswoman. We're still in hypothesis. We have no idea. Again, Elon killed my X account, and there's no doubt in my X account, I was the first person to tell you to explain the jacuzzi. I call it the jacuzzi effect. But I also told you if the sun is increasing the heat on the planet, which is causing our climate issue, then we need to figure out a safe way to create some sort of haze up there. Something we can breathe, but also creates that haze up in the atmosphere. So we are like a sunblock. I was the first person to say that. And if I never said anything, people probably wouldn't have said anything, ever. That's how the world works. Because the spies back Elon. What spies? South African spies, Russian spies. They love Elon. He makes a mess. And then he hires a PR firm to say, hey, this is God on earth. He's doing everything great for us. We're going to fly away. I guarantee if you don't have $10 million or more, you'll never get off this planet. And everybody else might not get off this planet either. It's never been proven that we can live on Mars or even on a trip to Mars without dying. That's like somebody that can run down the end of the block saying, I can run a marathon because I ran down the end of the block. It's unproven. Again, so there is. I hit the conservatives for you there, Congresswoman. But when it comes to the climate, we don't have the answers yet. When it comes to clean air, we have the answers. And yes, whatever the requirement is for EPA to deliver clean air, they should do it. If you want to change it, you get your people in. Again, the kids are pretty liberal. You brainwashed them. They'd allow Iran to come here and tell them that there's no gay people. And then they'll go, you're great because you're Iran. And you back Palestine. So you can tell us no gay people. Republicans can't because they don't back Palestine. But it's the same thing with cops. I don't even know how some of these cases are still standing, where cops get arrested for things that they couldn't have reasonably foreseen. That case in New York should have never been brought because that officer could not have figured out that if he throws a cooler at a guy on an electric bike, that you ever see that, The Mousetrap? It's a game. You do one thing and then another thing happens, and next thing you know, it traps a mouse. Because the wheel spins and it hits an arm and the arm hits the cage and the cage falls on the mouse. He couldn't have foreseen that. There's no way he knew that this guy would fall this way, fall that way, hit the head on the... In fact, it's a but for that electric vehicle, electric bike, whatever it was, being used hazardously to attempt to run over the officers, this would not have happened. He not only tried to flee and elude, which is a felony, which should cancel the issue, he tried to run them over, which is another more serious felony. So he committed 2 felonies against those New York police officers, and the officer's responsible because he should have had, you ever remember Johnny Carson and the Swami thing? Should have had his turban on and held a card to his head and been able to read it. No, we're in dangerous times where courts are playing that game. And it's not a game, it's a violation of law. They should be impeached at a certain point. Not in the beginning, you got to work with them, and I understood that. But we're to the point where the track record of the judges appointed by Obama and Biden and a couple of Republicans, and people can be blackmailed and extorted or just not, be as good a judge as they were when they were appointed. But it's the point where the track record says that they're disregarding the law and they do not have the capability to understand the law, or they don't care to understand the law. There's too many overturned cases. There's too many cases being, remove the TRO and re-argue the case or whatever it is. Again, too many changes occurring at the appellate level. Now, I do agree there's a higher level of appellate activity because Soros just spends multi-millions, and others spend, Pritzker, all those people with money. They steal money from the benefit programs that they lobby for. No wonder they're lobbying for all that benefit program. See how the replacement theory works? A lot of them are immigrants. Democrats don't care because they're enriched. They're not just bringing Aliens, again, immigrant is not the term. I messed up. Illegal aliens is different. It's not immigration. So they're bringing illegal aliens here, because I'll bring up the immigrants in a little bit, because they're somebody else. They won't say anything because they depend on the machine that's bringing the illegal aliens in to have a good life. But their life is getting worse and worse. So you bring these illegal aliens in, and they're giving them money out of all these programs that they told they shamed the Republicans into passing. How careless, how you don't care about people eating. Well, it turns out what we were allocating for people without money, children, to use to eat, people were going to Chez Pierre's and paying big dollars at the donor restaurants. So instead of feeding a child, it fed a Somali gang boss some filet mignon or whatever it is in Somalia language or Somalian food and language that is the equivalent of filet mignon, a big surf and turf. But they're going to demand reparations. And you know what? If Democrats get in, you better slow people down, Democrats. And you are going to try to impeach Trump. We're not buying into what Hakeem said just so you can take that off the table. That's a scam. Oh, we don't care about this. We don't care about that. Because they know they polled it and things aren't popular. Well, because they're trying to get some of the Republican vote that Trump got last time to put their people into the House and Senate. So not only, the replacement theory doesn't just replace people, it replaces money, where the money is. Big money. And if they were quiet millionaires, possibly the guy, who's the guy Karen Bass had, I don't remember what that guy's name was, like Armenian or something. Armenians can get a little bit crazy too, but if, I never heard that Armenian say what the Somalians said. So again, I'm trying to show the difference of what we're looking at. Stealing the tax dole that was meant to feed children, it's meant for people at end-of-life care, and giving it to an illegal alien, or in some cases, immigrants, to live a lifestyle most Americans could never even dream of. And then demand reparations. And while you're living that lifestyle, say you're going to take over the United States because we're all suckers. But because we said something about it, now they demand reparations. That's the Soviet Union. Not communism, it's Soviet Union. Completely different thing. Now you have to understand, I was in Colorado and other places, and I spoke to young people, and they told me about pure socialism, but it doesn't look like pure socialism at this point. Looks like the same old Soviet Union. So the replacement theory is also replacing who is wealthy or even who is middle class in the United States. And part of it is addicting white people to narcotics. That's part of it. And then taking the proceeds and donating it to some Democratic Party politician. And there are some Republicans, I'm sure. But like I tell you, Carlson doesn't care. Carlson is actually poorer with a Republican president than he is with a Democratic Party president. I guarantee you his bottom line doesn't even look the same. So again, we have people, even senators and congressmen, sometimes they don't even care who the president is. Sometimes they want it to be the other party because they're more famous. They get more donations when the other party's in. So again, we're being played as the people. If we scientifically look at the data, the cleaner the air is, the worse the climate is. I don't want you to dirty the air and make us sick. But all that money you got, the trillions for climate work, it went bust. Didn't do anything. Made it worse. But you're rich, right? You donated to the cause. They gave you more money. You donated back to the cause. We call that kickback in law enforcement, but nobody prosecutes it anymore. Unless Cash gets up off of those cases that he has and gets the Justice Department to push through. So again, the law is the law, the data is the data. And I'm not a letter of the law person. This is what I need to probably end with, or at least go into a little bit. I'm not a letter of the law person. I'm not a no social safety net person. So I have way to speak over everyone else because I'm not playing party politics. I look at the data and the law. And again, if you don't like the law, change the law. You can only go so far because we do have a constitution. Everything that is going on in these types of events is harming the person the Democratic Party says they're helping. But they can grab a person. I say this about veterans too. They can grab a veteran and show us how they're helping veterans. They can grab a homeless person, a person that doesn't have food, and show us how they're helping them. But when the money's put out there, when you're asking for unrealistic things, when you're asking for harassment, you're asking Zeldin to harass companies without lawful authority. That's what harassment is. I know Democratic Party people get into that. Makes them feel big. I think I missed a beat there, but I don't remember what it is. I don't write anything down. I should write it down. I should come up with at least an outline, right? It's the end times. Don't worry about what you're going to say. Just say it. It's what the scripture is in the Rabbi Yeshua ben David Torah. All right, Torah is not simply that scrolls that you carry around. In Judaism, Torah is also the teachings, official and unofficial. If I'm speaking to you and you're speaking to me about, say, the book of Ruth, we're engaged in Torah. It's not like the word Bible. When you preach, you're not engaged in Bible. The Dwight L. Moody series of books is not considered Bible. But in Judaism, it's a continual evolution. Therefore, it's correctly considered Torah. How else can God speak to the planet and get anywhere? So again, when we look at the data, when we look at the law, it says certain things. If you want to change it, you have to get your people in, and it has to fit the framework of the United States. Unfortunately, people have radicalized, including judges. The data and the law no longer matter because why? Maybe they're extorted. Maybe they're nuts. Maybe they're just plain crazy. I don't know. But again, there are impeachable conditions in the judiciary at this point. Too many overturned cases. Too many rulings that were just flat out BS. Well, what you're doing is you're causing a disruption in the process of government that you actually don't have a way in, as the court has decided. Oh, this is what I want to say. I was speaking, trying to get to something. So immigrants, I'm going to describe immigrants. Immigrants go through a process, a lawful process. Some people that claim amnesty are part of that society. The Mexican chief, I don't know where she is. She probably lives in Texas somewhere. Nobody may have, actually, nobody but the people that hit her may know where she lives. She had to leave Mexico, and it was obvious. She just drove right across the border, claimed legitimate amnesty. Well, she was getting tough. And they killed, I forget who they killed, and they were on her tail, getting ready to kill her. Right. Now, that just shows you how brave Erica Gandera, I guess her name is, something like that. That one woman, she didn't leave. She stayed there until they kidnapped her and killed her. Again, I'm pretty calm right now. Sound pretty calm. I'm furious at Mexico. You're just sacrificing law enforcement officers and living the high life. The answer is simple. Security, secure housing. Again, they're fighting. Well, why are these people in these? Because you can't get at them and you want them dead. You may call yourself a media person, but I know you're an assassin trying to kill Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi. I realize this. You're part of the criminal conspiracy to kill them. The internet is a funny world, how criminal conspiracies work. They're not all chargeable. It may not be chargeable at all. But I know what you're doing, all of you. You're engaging in criminal conspiracy by posting things and reading them. Again, I described it the other day. I said, what they're saying about cash may actually be, and the others, is an instruction, number one, to try to dig up dirt, two, to lie about it, and three, to try to cause it through criminally intentioned spycraft in the lives of the victim. And it's also witchcraft. They're telling them what spell to use against cash. So immigrants are living here. They can't say anything because they're stuck in the community of the progressive, generally, the Democrat. And since the Democrats changed their policy, it's getting worse. And this is not a lie. And I'm not going. I'd have to do research to tell you exactly where it is. Some communities full of illegal aliens. Again, they're not immigrants. I understand that the concept that you can't call them an immigrant because that's a different process. And those people need to be protected from that label and protected from legal alien, because this is where I'm going with it. There are some communities in the United States that are less safe, because I'm inside, man. I'm inside everybody to a certain degree. There's certain places I don't reside, same places where God doesn't reside. Sometimes I'm just a fly on the wall. But they are living in communities that are less safe than the community they fled in Central and South America and Africa. That's true. Because of your policies of change out, the replacement policies, it is now less safe in some communities in Chicago, some communities in Los Angeles, some communities in New York City, some communities in Republican cities also. So I'm not going to lie. Than it was in the place where they fled. But they can't say anything because even the Democrats would deport them then. See the scam? See the Soviet Union? See to pull that person over because they're driving a gas guzzler? See, don't pull that person over because they're driving an electric vehicle? See what Zeldin was saying? There are portions of the United States where immigrants live that are less safe because the Democrats brought in too many people that we call illegal aliens, or actually the agency calls them. It's actually a technical term. Now, some people used it negatively, and that was wrong. Used it like the other terms, you know. I'll give you a couple. I guess it isn't as bad as the N. Maybe it is as bad as the N word. I don't know. But people called them wetback. People called them, you know, the Mexican man in the sky said I can say it to make my point. Called them, you know, wetback, beaners, stuff like that. I'm a beaner. I eat a lot of beans. That's actually a way to kill their insults if it has because again, a metaphysical down. Yeah, I'm a beaner. I eat beans. You eat beans. Everybody eats beans. Our Mexican, you go to a Mexican restaurant, you eat beans. Other restaurants eat beans. Bean soup, bean casserole, baked beans. Not that they should say that. So that's a big deal. There are places in the United States that are less safe. And obviously it's true about El Salvador to a certain degree. And that's not what I'm speaking about. I just wanted to make that point. And that's the major problem of changing this place. But again, the people, I know they're rich, but they have a lot. I understand they have a lot of expenses and they're actually broke. People making decisions are living in nice lives, nice communities, high dollar police departments. But they're broke. I understand they have expenses and, you know, they don't care. And they're actually indoctrinated not to care. That's why they're there. The deep state approved of them. Well, stay peaceful. Again, I believe in a social safety net as large as we can afford. But I also believe in, and I've said this all along, and they, oh no, fiscal conservatism is stupid. To be fiscally conservative. And that means that you don't, again, some programs save money. Like a lot of people go, well, we should just not feed them and put them in prison if they commit crimes. Well, no, not really, because it just doesn't benefit us. There's a whole series of programs that I explain holistically repairing people. Again, a lot of people that are these wealthy devils don't want you repairing people. They want them broken because they can't be happy until people are broken. But I believe in a social safety net. I believe in spirit of the law versus letter of the law. So don't let the deep state devils, and some are Republicans, some are independents, some are Green Party, some are Democrats. Don't let them put shit in your head. Because if you are willfully ignorant, you will stand possibly before God. It just depends how evil you are. God cannot stand in the presence of evil. People that leave the planet and go to hell will not see God. You've already been judged. It's in all the scriptures. I've been judged. It's in all the scriptures. We've all been judged. I will see God. That's obvious. Some of you will see God, and he might ask you some very serious questions. Willful ignorance is no excuse. Willful ignorance doesn't get you out of hell. Well, stay peaceful. Praise God.